Hey, what up, everybody? This is Stevie Bridge coming to you here today. This is going to be an edition of STS Radio, and in this one, we're going to be talking all about the Night of Champions 2014 pay-per-view coming up live on the WWE Network this Sunday. I think that honestly, this show is all built around Brock Lesnar versus John Cena. I think when you look over this card, they've got some matches on this show that really could stand out, and be good ones. Sheamus versus Cesaro, honestly, in my mind, hasn't gotten a whole lot of love, but they're going to be fighting over the United States Championship. That's a good match. Ziggler versus Miz, as always, should be another good one for the IC belt. We're going to have to see what they can do to try and save the WWE Divas division. I think that one's been slacking a little bit. And surprise, surprise, the main event of Monday Night Raw was Mark Henry against Rusev. In this string of videos, more than likely it's going to go about an hour. We're going to have this all recorded. We're going to put it up on the radio show. My buddy DJ, he's going to throw that up there on the online. Hopefully you guys all are over there. Hopefully you guys are all listening to it now. But basically, there's two big shows this week. There's Night of Champions that's on Sunday, which is probably going to get more, I guess you can say, of the love from the wrestling fans out there. That's going to be live on the WWE Network, pay-per-view style. As long as you're subscribed to the $9.99 stream, you're going to be getting that just about free of charge, in my mind. I watch so much stuff on the WWE Network that I never have anything. I've been on a kick. I've been watching a lot of WCW as of late. I think I got talked into it by all the hype of everybody going crazy about WCW Nitro leading up to that. But there's always something fun to go on there. Also, this Thursday is going to be No Surrender, the go-home pay-per-view for TNA. It's going to be held live on free, as long as you got cable, as long as you got Spike TV, you're going to be able to check this one out as well. No Surrender, this is the go-home pay-per-view. Bobby Roode going up against Bobby Lashley for the TNA Championship. Of course, this match was hyped up by the Six Sides of Steel, and hopefully it's going to be a good one from there. But I think most of our attention is going to be pointed in the direction of WWE tonight. We got 8 good matches leading up to this one. On the pre-show, we're going to be more than likely seeing a match get named to this. I'm not sure, from watching Monday Night Raw, what direction they're going to go in. Jack Swagger got the big win over Bo Dallas. Is that feud over and done with now, or is that a match that could be added to the pay-per-view to go on the pre-show? Maybe Big Show going up against Bray Wyatt. We got to see Big Show get a DQ win after the Wyatts came down and crushed up on Big Show. Or was that just for, something to make Bray Wyatt look like he's a big deal after him and his buddies got squashed by John Cena just a few weeks ago on Monday Night Raw? I'm not quite sure, but Chris Jericho is going to be a guest on the Peep Show with Christian. Christian is the guy that, he had this show in the past when he was a heel. I think they've used this when he was a babyface as well, but I think for the most part, he's always been a heel doing this show in the past. And he was a good host of a WWE-style talk show, taking up a segment that always sort of led to some sort of a feud over the Intercontinental Championship or something like that. I think always the Peep Show normally revolved around his sort of matches. He just wasn't out there for no reason, being the intermediary between two guys going out there and battling it all out together. Christian seems like his job these days in the WWE is just to be on the pre-show. We've seen him be on the panel with him and Booker T for probably the last 3 shows now, if I can remember right. And I guess he's not going to be on the panel. He's going to be in the ring. I think he was on the panel not for this NXT special, but the NXT special before. Back in March, before WrestleMania, he wrestled in a match on Monday Night Raw. It was a 4-way to find the number 1 contender to go up against Biggie Langston for the Intercontinental title. Christian won the match, but he suffered a concussion in that match, a concussion that he still hasn't come back from after all of these months. He's always one of those guys that is on the back of everybody's mind, thinking if he's going to have some sort of a return. A few months ago, I can't remember if it was Payback. I think it was the Payback Intercontinental Battle Royal, where they were naming a new champion after stripping Wade Barrett. I apologize if that's not the right show, but I think I picked Christian as my, sort of surprise guest. Chris Jericho had Christian on his show that week, and they had a good long discussion on Talk with Jericho. Really, really good podcast. If you guys haven't been checking it out, make sure you give that a download over at podcast1.com. But at the end of the show, Jericho said that they had filmed that podcast a few months before, and he was waiting to release it at a time when it was more topical. And Christian is the guy that we hadn't been talking about in a long time since his injury. And, I sort of took that as topical as a time when Christian was going to make his return. And why else have a return for Christian if he's not going to be doing something big? We've seen him come back and win Battle Royals for the Intercontinental Championship before in the past. And I thought that was going to be it. But it just seems that WWE just doesn't have anything for the guy. I've heard reports saying that basically Christian is a guy that has that label on him that basically he's going to get injured if you put him in the ring. So I guess they're just counting down the days until his contract ends, just sort of keeping him away from everybody else. Maybe something will come up for this guy. He's a real good host when they put him on the pre-show. The guy's seems like a guy who knows what he's doing in the ring. He's always been one of those guys that you can always trust to have a good match with just about anybody. I don't know why you wouldn't want to see if he would want to be a trainer down. He already lives in the Florida area down there. I'm not sure if he wants to wrestle anymore. If he did, I'm sure that if he did get his WWE release, TNA would love to scoop him up and bring him up. They always made him look like a real big deal when he was there. He could definitely be one of the guys who could step into the company if they still wanted to run the Hall of Fame gimmick. And he can be looked at as one of the biggest stars that's ever been in that company. I know he came in there. He was the first person to ever choose TNA over WWE. He sort of... a lot of people say that he took a step back when Angle came in. But honestly, I think that he just kept rolling with the punches. I think maybe TNA saw the writing on the wall that he wasn't going to resign, and maybe that's why they stepped the character back a little bit. But Kurt Angle was a force that had to be, pushed to the limit. They had brought him in. He's a bigger name than Christian is. Olympic gold medalist. Honestly, when it comes down to it, I think that Angle's a better wrestler. So they made the right decision. I mean, when you only have one championship, you can only put it on one guy. And I think Angle was the guy definitely to put the focus on. He should have been the main guy of TNA. But I'm not real sure what they're going to do with this sort of thing. I know that they got the Authority all pissed off at Chris Jericho, but Chris Jericho already has a match on the show going up against Randy Orton. So it's kind of lost to me. I know Jericho beat Kane on Monday Night Raw tonight. So is Jericho just going to just talk it up and be friends with Christian, or is the Authority going to butt their head in on this, and maybe Kane's going to try to attack Jericho to give Orton the leg up in their match? We'll have to see, but that's going to be the episode 1, and I'm not sure what they're going to do for the pre-show to add something else to it. Normally in the last few ones we've seen 2 matches instead of 1. Maybe Big Show versus Bray Wyatt, maybe I had another one on the top of my head. Jack Swagger against Bo Dallas. We'll have to see. But that's going to be the pre-show, and we'll get into the matches from here on out. We'll start it out with the Divas here. Divas champion Paige is going to be going up against Nikki Bella and AJ Lee in a 3-way for the Divas championship. It's hard for me to say that a match containing Paige and AJ Lee is a match that isn't really being looked at as going to be that great. And I don't think the real reason is because Nikki Bella's been added into the fray. I think if anything, to make this match better, Nikki Bella being added into it might have brought a little bit more of attraction to this match. Honestly, if you really think about it, I thought that AJ and Paige was going to be the savior of the Divas division. So many times we've seen this belt defended in matches just girls you don't want to see wrestle. I mean, Beth Phoenix was a great champion, and off the top of my head, she was the last champion that I really remember holding the Divas title, that I really cared about seeing her matches. The gone are the days of Melina and Mickey James and just other girls that really could go get in the ring and go. For the longest time, WWE has been pushing out, these sort of Barbie doll girls that just can't do it. I mean, like, Maurice was a good wrestler in my mind. Alicia Fox, I really liked watching wrestle. Eve Torres was an awesome wrestler. Even Candice Michelle was somebody that I like seeing wrestle. That honestly, when she first came in, she first started, was garbage, and she just blossomed in by the end of the time of her contract when they let her go. Was, I think, one of the best wrestlers that they had that I liked watching inside of the ring as far as the divas go. And after seeing all of this, Paige comes along with a whole bunch of hype coming out of NXT. AJ's been, the wrestler that's been there for a while. We finally get to see these girls mixed up, and it's go time. And in my mind, those matches just honestly just haven't delivered. The whole Divas division for this last month since SummerSlam, to me, just really hasn't delivered. I remember making my SummerSlam hype up video, just basically talking about how on fire the Divas division was, and in 1 month they've just killed it with this Bella's feud. It's a feud that they're hyping up a reality TV show, which I think a lot more people that follow wrestling will watch than like to admit. I really think that Total Divas is a good show. Every time I sit down and watch it, I don't know why I haven't watched episode 1 or episode 2 of season 3. I like to put it off saying that I just didn't have the time to do it, but honestly, I got a lot of time to do a lot of crap, and I just didn't do it. And I love the show, but to me, that if they're going to tell WWE, that they want a Bellas versus Bellas feud, if they want a Funkadactyls feud, to try and bring more interest into the show, they're ruining their own television show, trying to make somebody else's television show better. This is just a feud that they should have seen the writing on the wall and just scrapped this. In my mind, I can remember back to WrestleMania 28 when we saw the Bellas choose different sides of the tag team match, which basically was SmackDown versus Raw, but it wasn't even that. I guess it was just Team Teddy versus Team Laurinaitis. People power. And that was, quickly extinguished after WrestleMania was over. Nobody wanted to see them fight then. I don't think anybody really wants to see them now. After listening to the Bellas, not the Bellas, only Brie was on there, on Talk is Jericho, talking about the reason why they left WWE before coming back for WrestleMania 29 was that they wanted to wrestle. They were sick and tired of basically just being used as models. They came to WWE, they got trained, they really liked what they did, but just WWE kept sticking them as, the girls that would help the guest hosts of Monday Night Raw. So many times you would see them, walk the guest host to the ring, and then they would just disappear. They were never used in angles. They were never used in matches. The closest we ever saw it was when they were going to fight Gail Kim over Daniel Bryan, and really that was just about it. They said they left just to show WWE, what they were missing. The phone call came that they wanted them to come in. They wanted them to be in a series of matches with the Funkadactyls in order to get them over. They wanted to kickstart off the Total Divas show, and they thought that they were girls that really could get viewership onto the product. But the whole thing with them, fighting with Jerry Springer and the brother JJ coming out, and I don't know, this is just garbage. It just honestly is. If you go back, I was fired up. Paige versus AJ, I had the highest expectations in the world for. Brie, who's not even involved in this match, going up against Stephanie McMahon, I thought was going to be one of the best matches of all time. I thought it could have main evented that pay-per-view if it wasn't for Cena versus Brock Lesnar with that kind of star power at the end. But if it was, Brock wasn't there, and Cena versus anybody else, I think anybody there would have told you that that was the one match that people cared about more than anything else. People wanted to see Steph get into the ring. People wanted to see what Brie was going to do with her. I don't think you can spend as much time and be married to Daniel Bryan without learning a thing or two about rolling around inside of the ring. I thought that match was going to be more of a I guess you can say like an ECW chick fight, with the girls rolling around on the floor. It ended up being that Brie wanted to show Stephanie that she could wrestle. The story was Stephanie couldn't wrestle. She was out of her element. Maybe if she got a cheap shot in, she would be able to fight her way out of the problem, but she wasn't going to be able to straight up wrestle Brie. I think that honestly, when you look at what happened on Monday Night Raw tonight, they hyped up the big, tag team match, AJ and Brie going up against Nikki and Paige, and the Bellas started it off in the ring, and as Brie, charged at Nikki to get on this Bella feud, Nikki tagged out of the ring, and Paige just whooped up on Brie, showing that, she had a whole lot more experience. She was giving her headbutts and bear hugs, choking her out, and just basically she got the 1-2-3 as Nikki knocked AJ out of the ring, and she wasn't going to be able to make the save. It just shows you that they're trying to put off any contact between the Bellas. We've seen them roll around in the ring, but as far as in a real match, it's going to come. I'm not sure if it's going to be at Hell in the Cell or if it's going to be later. Definitely I don't want to see if they actually put the Hell in the Cell down for the Bellas feud. Good God, if John Cena has any push inside that company, I hope that they do it. I think that would rank up right there with the Kennel from Hell match, with the Big Boss Man going up against Al Snow back in the day. Definitely that would be something that is exciting. Honestly, I think definitely in this match, I think that there will be no finish. More than likely Paige will walk out. If anything, maybe AJ picks up the win. I don't think it's going to happen. But at one point, I think that Nikki is going to have the match in her hands. Brie is going to come down if she gets disqualified and the match is thrown out, or if she just makes sure that her sister doesn't get the win. I think that's the story where they're pushing it from there. Will they do, AJ versus Paige on a fourth straight pay-per-view? I hope. I mean, I have faith in this match, but I'm not sure where they would go from here. Maybe they would go to just a fatal four-way at the Hell in the Cell with all four girls actually getting invited to be in the match. But Stephanie set this up. This is Stephanie's problem. I think that Stephanie definitely could get involved in this match. I think that she's sort of old news to the Divas division. She put it out there on Instagram that her match with at SummerSlam was a character. And, she's still going to continue on her character, but I think that was basically saying that her wrestling days are done. She did the job that she set out to do to show her kids that she used to be able to get in the ring, and that was something that she does. It's not just something that their father, Triple H, does, but she's able to do it as well. Maybe there'll come a day when she, gets a storyline where it means she can get in the ring. It will be definitely used sparingly, but definitely, Stephanie in her pantsuit, she can get involved in this match as well. Is she that grateful to Nikki that she would give her the Divas Championship? I have seen a few videos of people saying that they think that could happen. I like to say that I hope that it won't, but you never know. This is the WWE, people. Oh, this is going to be a good one right here. This is going to be a good one. This is going to be one of those hard-hitting, action-packed matches right out of the 1980s style of wrestling that I love. I loved seeing two big, huge lumberjack men just getting in the ring and just pounding on each other. It is the best. I just love seeing the guy hit each other as hard as he can and the other guy just return right back. And definitely that's the kind of match that we're going to get here at Night of Champions. It's going to be Cesaro, United States Champion. I apologize. It's going to be Sheamus, United States Champion, going up against Cesaro. And these guys are two guys. I know that, Cesaro has the receding hairline and Sheamus has the Guile-style red hair up top. But honestly, these two guys are two guys that I link together. They're basically the same style of fighter. They go out there. I think of like that ECW sort of gimmick that they ran at the end where it was like the Knights of the Round Table. It was Ezekiel Jackson and it was Vladimir Kozlov, and they would just beat the crap out of people. And like if you picked up a guy and hit the pile driver, he would pick him up and he did a pile driver also. It was just whatever you can do, I can do better. And this is a rivalry that's been set in stone for a long time. We've seen these guys battle on Raw and main events. I think this is their first pay-per-view match, but this is the match that was probably one of the first matches booked. It goes all the way back to the end of August, where Cesaro beat Rob Van Dam to become the number one contender to go up against Sheamus at the Night of Champions. We've seen, basically Cesaro come down and do commentary during Sheamus's matches, and he's, sitting there and he's inspecting the United States champion. Basically, this is a belt that he's had in the past, and he's looking at it like he's never seen it before. I think that definitely he would like to forget that first United States championship run. I think he won it from Santino Marella at the at SummerSlam. I know I was there and I saw him win it. I just remember Lana. Or not Lana, he had Oksana. Oksana was his old manager back in the day before. Even when he was winning, he told her to hit the bricks and broke up with him. WWE just split him up. Wow, that's old time stuff right there. Basically, they had Cesaro go on a good long little hot run, showing off how good he was, and all of a sudden the news came out that Vince thought that Cesaro was boring and that nobody liked him, and it's like everybody is cheering for this guy. Everybody is rooting for him to be the guy that rises up and takes that next step in WWE. He's the guy that people would pay to see in big style matches, whether if it is as babyface Cesaro or whether it is as a heel. People want to see this. He has a style of wrestling that is just, he can go old school Frank Gotch style, or he can brawl like with throwing punches back and forth with people, like a Cena or maybe even like a Brock Lesnar, and it would be believable. There was people out there who actually thought that they were building towards Paul Heyman versus Brock Lesnar in a match, maybe at SummerSlam, where basically out of the middle of nowhere, the night after WrestleMania, everybody thought that Cesaro was going to be turning and going babyface. The next thing you know, he comes out and he says that he's a Paul Heyman guy. And we go through a good long little run of him, being there with Paul Heyman. And it's always Paul Heyman's talking about Brock Lesnar. And people were thinking that basically Cesaro's going to get fed up. He's going to quit. And he's going to want to beat Brock Lesnar to show Paul Heyman that, he missed out on having the next big superstar of the WWE. But everything in the world went cold on that. Just basically they had a dry breakup where just Cesaro came out and said he was no longer a Paul Heyman guy, but he wanted to be a Triple H guy, which lasted a week before Cesaro came out and shook hands with Paul Heyman and said that he wasn't bitter about their breakup, and he just was a dude that was out there with nothing going on. But I think that definitely Cesaro versus Sheamus is a match that we're going to get something good out of. You go back to the SummerSlam video game launch. Both of these guys were on the panel and they were playing off of each other. Also, Sheamus was playing off of Matt Lorenzo out there in the crowd wearing his MacGyver shirt. Sheamus couldn't keep his eyes off of the guy, as well as kept talking about him, giving Matt Lorenzo the biggest plug of his career on YouTube. Shout out to my good buddy, the awesome Lorenzo brothers. But, Sheamus won this belt in a battle royal, and he hasn't had a whole lot of matches that have really mattered. I honestly can't even remember the last time I saw Cesaro or Sheamus on my television screen. I know that WWE sends people out to do a lot of, especially these two guys. They would send them out to other countries to just sort of do press tours where they're heading to in order to hype up them coming there. I know that they would do a lot of, meeting the fans and things like that, getting them hyped up for ticket sales and ticket drops. You got to do things like that. And, for this last little push, we've had, John Cena on the show, so we really haven't had to have these guys. But it is kind of a mystery to me. Unless it was a part of the show that I missed tonight, I can't tell you if Sheamus or Cesaro was on Raw tonight. And if they did, I'm guessing that they didn't do anything memorable, because I didn't read anything about it on Twitter or see it in the parts of the show that I was able to check out. But definitely, I think this is going to be an 80s style wrestling match. These guys are going to beat the holy hell out of each other, and we're going to find out who the better wrestler is at Night of Champions. It's definitely going to be a good one. Alexander Rusev has been going strong in the WWE for the last few months. He made his debut at the Royal Rumble this year. Came in surprising a lot of people coming out of NXT. I think he got a few eliminations. He was in there for a good amount of time and then got dumped out. And then we didn't see him again for a long time before he started popping up on Raw and on SmackDown, giving his whole, all hail Russia speeches by Lana. He's getting medals, given to him by Vladimir Putin. And, once he started wrestling, he started getting on these pay-per-views. He had a 2-match series against Biggie Langston. He had a 2-match series against Jack Swagger. And now there is a new American hero who stepped up to the plate to take on Rusev at Night of Champions, and that is Mark Henry. Mark Henry, a former Olympic weightlifter. He used to dress up in the red, white, and blue back in the day when he made his debut in WWE way back in those days. I think it was almost 20 years ago, if I remember right. I think it was 1995, maybe 1996 at the latest. I know that he was even tried out to try and make the 1996 Olympic team, but I think it was due to an injury that he had to bow out. So, this guy knows what it means to be a real American hero, going up against, Mr. Russia over here, waving the Russian flag. So many guys have stepped up trying to knock Rusev off of his perch. There's rumors out there, basically, wondering if Rusev will keep this streak all the way up until, Kurt Angle makes his debut for WWE. Maybe if they do it at a big show like the Royal Rumble, maybe even if they have it go all the way until WrestleMania. I think that honestly that with Rusev, WWE is painting themselves into a corner. Once you have a guy, start undefeated, it seems to be the easiest thing in the world. I think if I was to bring somebody up from a company like NXT, you want to make this guy look like he's a surprise. But once you bring him to the main roster, you have him lose a match almost right out of the gate to show, this is the big leagues. You might have been the biggest fish in the smallest pond that is NXT, but once you get to WWE, you are in a whole nother nature. I know that Triple H is trying to get over his performance center, and by bringing his guys in and beating WWE's land of jobbers at the bottom of the roster. Basically, it's showing how strong these guys at NXT are, that they're able to beat these guys. I can remember, to bring a sports analogy into it, there was a time when the University of Miami was one of the strongest football teams in the country. And I'm not talking back in the days of like The Rock. I'm talking like 2002. And the Cincinnati Bengals was one of the worst teams in the NFL. They could barely find a way to win a game. I apologize if you're a Bengals fan, but if you are, you remember the team that I'm talking about. You guys didn't go winless like the Detroit Lions did. I guess that was probably about 5 years ago. That's how they got Stafford on that team, I'm pretty sure. Maybe Stafford was on the team and he was hurt his rookie season or something like that. But yeah, that team was bad. But basically, people always made the analogy, what would happen if the University of Miami, the best team in college football that just looks like they're unbeatable, would go up against the Cincinnati Bengals, and everybody, would jump on board saying that the college team would beat them because, they just wanted to pile on and say how bad the Bengals were. But then, when you really got into the real people from sports, who really broke it down, they said that any pro player is always going to be better than any collegiate player. It's just, it's two different leagues. Once you're over here, you play one way, and then once you get to there, you have to learn to play a whole nother game. You're still, throwing the ball around. So, honestly, with mine, every once in a while you can build up a guy like Goldberg, and I don't think Rusev is going to go all the way to Goldberg status where he goes 120, 160, however many it was that Goldberg won before he finally lost. But if you remember back to Goldberg, once you build a guy up like that, you're almost setting yourself up for fail because he can't win forever. Fans will even get bored if it's the biggest guy of the company always winning. With Stone Cold Steve Austin, they would build this guy up to where he was the champion. He'd let him be champion for a few months. They'd cut his legs out. They would send him. He wouldn't go down to the bottom. He's still Stone Cold Steve Austin. He's still the main eventer. But, he had to work his way back up. If you think back, the time when he lost the championship and then he started fighting, Mr. McMahon because they wanted to buy some time, so they let Rock and Mankind have a series of matches. That way they could have Rock versus Stone Cold Steve Austin at WrestleMania. So, just because the guy loses a match doesn't mean it. But, when you're coming in and you're strong and your whole storyline basically is that you're undefeated, it paints you into a corner. Did anybody else notice that this was the fucking... I apologize. Did anybody else notice this was the main event of Monday Night Raw? This is what they ended the show with. I could tell by looking at it. The Cena and Brock Lesnar brawl was in a weird place of the show. The hyped up Divas match with Brie and AJ. You had Nikki and Paige in there. That was in a weird spot. It sort of left, everybody thinking, why wasn't, Brock and Cena in there? I think they were trying to battle it out. I think that spot happened around halftime of the NFL game, trying to see if people would turn off the NFL Monday Night Football game, which was the Eagles. I listened to that whole damn game. Who the hell did the Eagles play? The Eagles played the Colts. Maybe seeing if people would change over to see Brock Lesnar and John Cena, if they saw it on their timeline, or if they just happened to be channel surfing, and then see where it would go from there. Would Cena and Lesnar fight again to end out the show? Because before SummerSlam, we saw Brie and Stephanie end out the show. But how many times do you see anybody other than John Cena, maybe Roman Reigns? How often do you see those guys not close it out? But I don't know what they called this. If it was a pep rally or if it seemed like some sort of a celebration for Mark Henry coming out there. Everything's looking all red, white, and blue. He's getting motivational speakers from other. I guess you could say other Olympic heroes from back in the day, telling Mark, you can do it, win one for Team USA. But honestly, in my mind, there's no chance in hell for Mark Henry. Mark Henry's not going to win this match. He's going to make Rusev look awfully nice. Honestly, in my mind, I had other ideas on what to do with Mark Henry, especially it seemed like he had another angle going with the writing team. It seemed like maybe he was getting paid double since he was working twice and he didn't want to tell anybody and keep it a secret, and it just passed by. But Big Show and Mark Henry had a tag team, and it seemed like they were going to be going after the tag championships. It seemed like when they were on the in the ring, the announce team always built them up like they were big things. Maybe he'll lose this and fall back into his tag match with the Big Show. Maybe the Big Show and him will go after the Wyatts for attacking him on Monday Night Raw tonight. Maybe they're just sort of setting the stones, or maybe they'll do what they've done with Rusev for the last two sets of pay-per-views, and maybe he'll get a rematch there. But I don't know who's gonna beat Rusev, but definitely in my mind, I know it's not gonna be Mark Henry. Mark Henry, the big, proud Texas Longhorn Olympic wrestler, has set his place in the history of WWE. I'm sure this guy is going to be a Hall of Famer for everything that he did before wrestling and everything that he did while he was in it, including becoming a World Heavyweight Champion. I think it's going to be sort of payback for everything that Vince and the writing staff had this guy do, from, having the baby hand with Mae Young, being called sexual chocolate, going through that long period where he had the huge contract, and rumor is Vince wanted the guy to quit, and he knew what it was like to get paid. So he was going to do whatever it took to get paid, and it included, eating a lot of crow and just doing what you were told to keep your job. But definitely Rusev for the win in this one. You can count on that one. Take it to the bank. This next one is a weird one, and it's not just because of the bizarre tag team of the Dust Brothers, Goldust and Stardust, teaming up to go up against the Usos. This is one that a lot of people have seen a different way, no matter which way you look at it. Both of these teams come in as baby faces, but through their series of matches, we've seen the Dust Brothers pick up 2 victories over the Usos, one by pinfall and another one in a title match, which was decided by countout, where the titles didn't change hands. Some people have said that Jey Uso sort of faked an injury to take the countout, knowing that they would keep their championships, thinking that Goldust and Stardust, had them in the corner, and basically knew that they were going to lose that match if they was still going in the direction that it was going. Goldust and Stardust is a weird tag team, honestly. When basically, Cody Rhodes left the WWE, saying that, Goldust deserved a new tag team, and that he was going to go out of his way and find him a new tag team partner that was going to be able to carry on his winning ways, and just Cody didn't want to hold Goldust down anymore. I saw that as writing on the walls, as that basically Cody was going to be turning on Goldust somewhere down the line. I know that this is a match that they've been looking for since WrestleMania 27. 3 years, Goldust and Cody Rhodes have been sort of, debating back and forth with Vince McMahon, trying and pleading to try to get the brothers a match at WrestleMania, knowing that, they could go out there and sort of have some family magic, have a Rhodes WrestleMania moment, I guess you can say. Going back to the WrestleMania podcast that was hosted by Renee Young, 30 years of WrestleMania, a great show that was on there. Definitely one of my favorite podcasts that would come on every week. I'm hoping that it will make its return next year. We did not get a Payback or a SummerSlam, podcast. There were some reports out there that Vince McMahon was upset that his show was not the number 1 show on Podcast 1, and that's why they didn't continue on their, I guess you can say, their relationship of working together, even on tonight's show, they plugged Stone Cold Steve Austin's podcast, where he was going to host. Kevin Nash is going to be on the show this week. They've plugged they've plugged Chris Jericho's show in the past, just basically saying that you go out podcast1.com or go over to iTunes and subscribe to these shows. So basically, Goldust has had his biggest WrestleMania moment, wrestling against Roddy Piper. He's told that story 1,000 times. As of right now, Cody Rhodes thinks the WrestleMania 27 match against Rey Mysterio is one of the best matches of his career. They've got WrestleMania moments, but I don't think that, it would compete against wrestling each other on the biggest stage of them all. It doesn't matter if it involves a title or, any storyline. Just let them go out there and compete. Say they're fighting over their father's love. They had a good storyline set up to have this match at WrestleMania 30. And some people said it was on the tables, but it never really panned out. And here they are just still teaming. I didn't think that when Goldust made his return to fight Randy Orton to try and get Cody's career back last year, I didn't think that he was going to be here this long. And he fits in every bit with everybody on the roster, whether if it's, from him doing the DDP yoga or just being, a real wrestling stud who's not going to complain about life on the road and the bumps you take. I mean, he is the guy that is really out there. He wrestles the house shows, he wrestles television, and I guess they gave Cody some time off to spend at home, and they had these guys making some weird vignettes. Something that I wish they would have done with Brock Lesnar to really hype up the Brock Lesnar versus John Cena feud. Instead, we just got Paul Heyman and John Cena on Raw every week. But these guys are far bizarre than I thought they were. These promos seems like they were sniffing just lines of cocaine before they went out there and just said the most bizarre things, looking into disco balls and all sorts of things. I don't really get this tag team. I don't really understand it. I don't know where it's going. But if anybody's going to beat the Usos, I say it could be the Dust Brothers here. The Usos are a great tag team, nothing against them, but this tag team run really hasn't really got anything running for me. Their matches against the Wyatts, they never really stepped up and said, we're a great tag team. Even when they won the championships against the New Age Outlaws before WrestleMania, I think that was actually at the Royal Rumble. No, the Outlaws became champions at the Royal Rumble, and then the Usos beat them on Monday Night Raw in that surprising match, and then they never got the rematch because they were going in different directions with the New Age Outlaws and Kane going up against the Shield. But I'm not looking for a lot from this match. It could surprise me, but I'm gonna take the Usos to keep their belts just because I got no clue why. Honestly, I don't know. There you go. Tag titles, Usos against the Dust Brothers. Alright, I'm chilling out here. I got my jelly beans. I got my Pepsi. We're going to be able to pull this through. We're on the home stretch. Next match is going to be the Intercontinental Championship match. Dolph Ziggler going up against The Miz. Went to a house show right before SummerSlam. No, I apologize. Right after SummerSlam. And this was easily the best match of the night. A whole bunch of chemistry. Everybody knows that Dolph Ziggler and The Miz are, basically the best of friends in the wrestling world. They have a lot of similarities. They both came up about the same time. And both of them are really, really good wrestlers. When I really thought about how this feud was going to plan out, though, I honestly thought out this was going to be one of those matches, one of the feuds that really brought back prestige to the Intercontinental Championship of what it once was. When I was growing up. When I look at the Intercontinental Championship, I think of guys like the Macho Man Randy Savage. I think of the Honky Tonk Man. I think of Mr. Perfect, Texas Tornado. A lot of these guys, Honky Tonk Man doesn't really fit in there. He held the belt for a long time. So I have memories with that. But, the other guys, the Intercontinental Championship was the workers' title, British Bulldog, Bret the Hitman Hart. I think I should make like a top 5 or a top 10 Intercontinental title championships list, because honestly, there's a lot of guys that really could be on that list. And I think that would be a fun video to make, trying to rank each guy and see where they fit in. But I thought that this feud really was going to be able to do it. If you go back to that Payback Battle Royal that we talked about a few minutes ago, basically, it came down to Dolph Ziggler winning the Intercontinental Championship. We all thought before The Miz, who basically was taking a vacation during the match. He slipped out. He didn't go over the top rope and played possum at ringside down on the mat. Basically, the referees never bugged him. They noticed that he never went over the top. And at the end, before the Ziggler music happened, as he was posing for the cameras, much like British the Bulldog, Davey Boy Smith, The Miz ran in like Shawn Michaels did and, knocked Dolph Ziggler over the top. He thought he was the Intercontinental Champion. He had nothing. He came back. He built his way all the way up to SummerSlam. And let me say that, The Miz has really captured this role really, really well. I really love the Hollywood Jerk, thinking that basically, his made-for-TV Christmas movie last year and the Marine 4 with him and Summer Rae are going to be these huge blockbuster hits. I have the Marine 3 sitting over there on my shelf as debut to cinema, and I've never even popped it in. I've come close once, and it never happened. Marine 4, we'll have to see how that works out. Like I said, I didn't even see the Christmas movie last year, and I love Christmas movies. The only thing I remember about it was basically him having to tell Maurice that he was going to have to kiss some girl in this movie, and then Maurice, basically giving it her seal of approval, saying that that's not a kiss, this is a kiss, when interviewing The Miz about the movie release. Ziggler is a great wrestler. I don't have to tell you that. This is a guy that, honestly, if it wasn't for the concussion, who knows how long that World Heavyweight Championship run would have lasted. After WrestleMania 29, where they were going, he came in at the right time, basically, when they were giving up on Alberto Del Rio, and he seemed like something fresh and a direction to run with. Ziggler's the guy that, sells a lot of merch. He's got a lot of fans, even when he was the heel. People love to get behind this guy, and as a babyface, there should even be even more coming. But I wouldn't be lying if I told you that this feud, to me, going into Night of Champions, hasn't been that great. Honestly, to me, the whole deal of The Miz going out and getting a stand-in, a stunt double, I guess they've been calling him, and Damian Sandow, to me was a little weak. They made fun of it on SmackDown, basically with Dolph Ziggler getting his own stunt double, getting R-Truth, having him come out there. But honestly, to me, I just want to see these guys fight. I want to see these guys wrestle. I want to see the British Bulldog versus Bret the Hitman Hart, and I don't really know if that's too much to ask for. Another, was Mr. Perfect and Texas Tornado, Kerry Von Erich battle back and forth. That would be like around 1990, 1991-ish, somewhere in there, I believe. But that's the Intercontinental Championship that I really want to see. I know Cody Rhodes, when he had this belt, WrestleMania 28 time before losing it to the Big Show, definitely not then. But around that time, that was the last time this belt has really been legitimate to the WWE. It's almost been like a crowning achievement for somebody to job out a whole bunch of matches. Biggie Langston, I thought the world of him when he first got the belt. But definitely, it's got a good home if it stays between these guys. These guys can have matches for the next year, and they wouldn't get old to me. They're definitely always going to go out there and make sure, Ziggler's whole thing is he's going to go out there and steal the show. But I think both of them are happy that they're on the pay-per-view, but I don't think either of them are happy with where they are on the card. Miz, of course, main eventer of WrestleMania 27, wants to work his way back up to the main event. Who knows what it's going to take for him to get there, but I think that definitely this heel persona is something that is getting him more respect than that, Ric Flair babyface that we saw for so long. I don't know what he's wearing, whether if it's a toga or a sheet, but it's worth $1 million to me. I'm going to pick Ziggler to win this match, and Miz is going to cry after it's all done. But that's my thoughts on the Intercontinental Championship match. But I'm hoping when this is all said and done, we say this: Miz versus Ziggler at Night of Champions 2014 was the match of the night. One of the matches that I'm really looking forward to on the WWE Night of Champions 2014 is the upcoming Chris Jericho versus Randy Orton match. This is the match that honestly was sort of rumored. A lot of people were whispering around, thinking that this match might happen at Night of Champions. But then after the Monday Night Raw match, when it ended of Bray Wyatt beating Chris Jericho by basically beating on Jericho's injured knee and then diving over Jericho outside of the cage onto the floor and picking up the win, and then throwing Jericho back into the cage only to rough him up and beat him up a little bit more. I was thinking, well, that's it. We've seen Chris Jericho. He had an awfully, good run coming back to WWE. He had a few matches against Bray Wyatt here and there, 2 pay-per-views and 1 Monday Night Raw match, and basically now he's going to go back out on the road. He's going to do what he loves, and that's, playing music and spreading the love of Fozzy around the world. And then out of the middle of nowhere, Randy Orton attacks Chris Jericho in the back, and I was as stunned as everybody else in the world. I thought that this was coming out of the middle of nowhere. At first, I just was like, well, this is completely random, and then I got a big, huge smile on my face, thinking of, well, this must be the only way that they can think of setting up Night of Champions. Randy Orton going up against Chris Jericho in this match that I've been looking forward to. This, more than likely, to me, is going to be the best match of Jericho's run right here. I know that we get a lot of these where Jericho comes back for a few months and then he's gone, and we have to sit it out and wait for the next big return that he tries to keep a surprise. It always sort of finds a way of getting spoiled along the way. He's never really had that really big return. I think the only time it's really ever, sort of surprised us is when he came back at the Rumble in Phoenix, and he drew the number 2 spot, came out and beat up Chris Jericho. That was pretty fun. I think that when they announced that a former champion was going to be debuting on Raw earlier this summer, I think Chris Jericho was one of the names that came out as sort of like a maybe. I think a lot of people were definitely looking at The Miz, and some people were thinking it might even be like, the way of bringing Ric Flair in, and there were some random people, but as long as they're giving us hints that somebody's going to be debuting and telling us that it's a former champion, Jericho's name is always going to be at the top of that list. I think a lot of people are breaking it down to thinking that this feud is mainly built up that Orton is upset, that if you go back to the episode of the highlight reel that was hosted by Chris Jericho, talking to Randy Orton before 7,000 guys came out there saying that they all deserved a shot at Brock Lesnar at the Night of Champions show. Why all these people would be lining up to get a championship shot against the guy that they're saying that even John Cena has no chance in the world to fight. I got no clue, but that's just the direction that they want to take the storyline. But Chris Jericho said that all of Randy Orton's success was handed to him on a silver platter, that he never really had to go out and earn anything on his own, going back to the days of Randy Orton being selected to join Evolution, and always having Ric Flair and Triple H there to fight his battles, making sure that he kept the Intercontinental title, to going out and beating Chris Benoit and winning the WWE Championship, and then going all the way to this run where he basically has the authority. Stephanie McMahon and Triple H fighting his battles, making sure that he's in the right direction to go from here. I think that you'd have to be a fool not to pick Randy Orton in this match. But you never know. WWE always likes to throw those curveballs out there, basically. You go back to RVD's last match in WWE. When he left, I believe it was at Extreme Rules. I think it was a stretcher match, if I can remember right. Everyone in the world thought, this is a slam dunk. Rob Van Dam is leaving WWE. We're not going to see him around for a while. There's no way in the world they're going to let him get a win on the pay-per-view. And whoever wrote up the script and got it approved by Vince, basically, they wanted to fool everyone. They didn't want everybody thinking that it was as easy as everybody thought it was to pick these matches, and he wanted to show you that there was a reason why they go out there and have the matches instead of just telling you, this guy won and that was it. Was basically Randy Orton beat, Rob Van Dam throughout the whole match, but at the last minute, Rob Van Dam was able to put Randy on the stretcher and push him over the line, basically before Randy, flipped out. I believe that was one of the times he punted Rob Van Dam in the head, getting the concussion angle over, giving them a storyline for why Rob Van Dam was leaving, just other than saying that his contract had expired and that he was leaving, and then in a few years you'd be able to see him debuting for TNA Impact Wrestling. But honestly, in this match, I'm going to pick Orton. I wish that Jericho would get the win. I think he only got the one win on that one pay-per-view in any match. Well, that match didn't really matter in the long run anyways. It was just Jericho versus Bray. Bray bores me a little bit, so I sort of, punch him in the sack whenever I get the chance. Just not really liking him. Keep hoping that he breaks out, and keep hoping that I get to see what everybody sees in Bray, but he's just not for me as of right now. The next one is going to be a big one. This is the future of the WWE. This is the proving ground of NXT. Two of the biggest guys to come out of there. Roman Reigns, basically the guy that I think a lot of people are thinking that is going to be, your main event of WrestleMania right here. That they've been pushing this guy. Even when they go back to the debut of The Shield, he was the guy that didn't really speak a whole lot because he wasn't that great of a speaker yet. He didn't, work a lot of the matches. He did have the high impact spots. But, they protected him throughout that whole run of never being pinned unless it was the elimination match where he basically fought the whole team all on his own before finally having to give in at the end. But Seth Rollins took a lot of his thunder when he broke up the Shield, the surprise attack. I believe it was the night after Payback, I believe is when it was, when Roman Reigns was hit by a steel chair by Seth Rollins, and then the attack on Dean Ambrose, giving him the curb stomp and leaving it in, basically leaving the Shield and joining the Authority, going on from there and winning the Money in the Bank, and being sort of the Authority's, plan B through all of the John Cena title run, basically, getting him to the point of where he could also be the big future star of the company. Roman Reigns might be the main event of WrestleMania, but Seth Rollins might be the first of the Shield to wear a WWE Championship belt. And that is a real big possibility if John Cena is able to beat Brock Lesnar. The focus of the Authority is to go on Seth Rollins cashing in that Money in the Bank briefcase and going from there into trying to become the champion by beating John Cena. The world was really turned upside down by the Shield. I think a lot of these guys were really loved when they first got there. And then once they finally made their babyface turn, it lasted for about 2 months. And then it was all ended. For a lot of people, it ended too fast once it all came down to it. But these guys are ruthless. As a team, they proved that they would go above and beyond and doing anything it took to win matches, whether if it was, triple power bombing the Undertaker or Ryback or anybody else through the announce table. It just didn't matter. There was, basically no friends of the Shield. Basically, they would turn on anybody at a moment's time, whether if that was, CM Punk or whether if it was Kane, or I guess you could say corporate Kane before WrestleMania, which led to their big WrestleMania match. But definitely, these guys are the future building blocks of the company. Both of these guys and Dean Ambrose, wherever he should be. Everyone knows that, once his head was smashed in on the cinder blocks at ringside of Monday Night Raw when Seth Rollins and Dean Ambrose had their match, he declined a trip to the hospital and broke out of the arena and has not been seen since, unless you're paying attention to pictures that WWE is tweeting out about him being on his movie set and making a WWE Films movie. I want to say that this match is going to be great, but at the same time, I think this match is a little bit early. I think everybody wanted to see all of the members of the Shield have a match, and it's Roman Reigns versus Seth Rollins' turn. I don't know why Roman Reigns wants a shot at Seth Rollins now. Where was he during the attacks of Seth Rollins on Dean Ambrose? They had a mutual respect for each other. They told each other that they were going to ride together and be tag team partners for life. And then come the next week of Monday Night Raw, they're nowhere to be seen. I don't know if they have a mutual respect, just thinking that they're going to let each other fight each other's battles. And now that Ambrose is out of the picture, Reigns wants his shot at Rollins, or maybe it just the WWE writers didn't know anything else to do, and it was a blessing of Chris Jericho to have one more match against Randy Orton. But to me, I think I rather would have had a longer build-up between Reigns and Rollins. It sort of just seems like a match thrown together. I think a lot of people were hoping for Ambrose to return, maybe even just if it was just for one night to have the match against Rollins. And they could have, built a little bit of a stage to stand on for Reigns and Rollins. This one just sort of seems like it's a WWE Raw main event. I know that last week on Monday Night Raw, there was the attack of Roman Reigns by Seth Rollins, throwing him into the steel cage and attacking him as him, Randy Orton, and Kane, bellied with laughter, standing on top of them and just looking down on what they have done. I wouldn't be surprised if WWE has the cinder block gimmick out there again. Basically, they tried to take Roman Reigns out the same way that they did Dean Ambrose, only for him to defend himself and fight back and throw one of the cinder blocks at Seth Rollins' head, where he was able to get out of there at the last minute before it crumpled over the ring post. only for Triple H to step in and said that maybe they should be looking at some sort of legal action against Roman Reigns. Maybe he might have been a suspension by, tossing those cinder blocks around with the chance of hurting, other WWE superstars or even the fans that were sitting at ringside. But I don't know. The 3-on-1 attack inside the steel cage, was that enough to get you to care about this match? I know that it's going to be good. I believe in Seth Rollins. I believe in Roman Reigns. I believe in the Shield. Give it to me. Yeah, put it in there. But I'm not 100% sure about this match. Definitely, in my mind, I'm going to be picking Seth Rollins to get the win here. Roman Reigns, I talked about this. These guys come up from NXT. They're unbeatable. We've seen Roman be pinned before, but I don't think he's been pinned in a one-on-one match. He's coming off the biggest win of his career against Randy Orton at SummerSlam. But definitely, if the plan is for him to get to the Royal Rumble, win that, and then go on and face Brock Lesnar at WrestleMania, he needs to get a loss before then. And I think Night of Champions is the time he can get a loss, bounce back. Maybe they do the Hell in the Cell match between these two, or maybe it's just a match at the Hell in the Cell where Roman's able to get his win back. From there, you go on, you get a win at Survivor Series, you get a win at TLC, and then you get some momentum behind you going into the Royal Rumble. It would not be the end of the world if Roman Reigns lost this match. Who knows? Seth Rollins coming to the end of this night, he could be WWE Champion, so it would help him to get the win as well. But an awesome match for the Shield. I wish there was a little bit more of a build-up, but I'm going to pick Seth Rollins for the win. John Cena versus Brock Lesnar. This is the big one. This is the reason why WWE brought in Brock Lesnar. If you go in right after WrestleMania 28, WWE should have been fired on all cylinders, having one of the biggest main events of a WrestleMania that they've had in years and years. Definitely the build for WrestleMania 28. Everybody knew that it was going to be a big one. Rock versus Cena. Bringing back one of the biggest, stars WWE's ever had, let alone one of the biggest stars in the world. One of the highest paid actors there is in Hollywood, bringing his skills back to the WWE, hosting a WrestleMania in, his own hometown there in Miami. What was that? Sun Life Stadium, I think is what it was called, the home of the Miami Dolphins. I believe at one point the Florida Marlins even played there, if I remember right. I wish I wouldn't have gotten to the WrestleMania 28 a little bit late. I wish I would have, taken more time to take in, what that place had to offer. One thing led to another. We got stuck in traffic coming from, we left WrestleMania Access. We had to go pick up our buddy Kevin, who got left behind at WrestleMania 28. As access. Then we had to head all the way out to Fort Lauderdale, and we had to get there, and basically we had to park the car in the farthest parking lot away from the arena. Then we ran in. I didn't even get to see, the sort of the columns that snake around the side. I remember looking at those in pictures and just thinking those are like some of the coolest outside stadiums of all time. And I know some people who can remember watching my videos back from WrestleMania 28 time, thinking of, me and my group of friends walking around and around the arena, lost, trying to find our car, why I couldn't soak in the moment then instead of earlier, was just, being worn out from the show, sort of being concerned, not knowing where the car was, sort of being concerned that we didn't... we didn't know where the hell we were. I guess, we were lost. We didn't even notice that we walked around the stadium 3 times. That's how big that place was. We just kept on going around and around. But basically, when you sat in your seat and you looked back, that was the largest swarm of people that I've ever been in. The way that stadium is set up like a bowl, it looked like the last row was honestly sitting right behind you, but you could definitely tell the mass amounts of people between you and the last row. Or I'm sure if you were in the last row looking all the way down towards the ring, it probably looked like if you stood up, you were going to topple down and you weren't going to stop until you hit the ring. It was one of the biggest masses of people that I've ever been in. We go from there over to Monday Night Raw, and Brock Lesnar debuts on the scene, walks right down to the ring, and gives John Cena and F5. The F5 heard round the world would set up their big brawl on Monday Night Raw the next week, which set up their Extreme Rules match at Extreme Rules pay-per-view that year. I guess that would be 2012. And from there, Brock Lesnar had peaked until he came to WrestleMania 30 2 years later, beats The Undertaker in the middle of nowhere, becomes the 1-21. And all of a sudden, all is erased. Everything from the losses to Triple H, the loss to John Cena, no one really remembers. I never had a chance to go back and watch that CM Punk match, but I've heard from some people that match is really, really good. But to me, I just hadn't seen what Brock Lesnar had to offer, But Brock shows up this year at SummerSlam, coming off the big win at WrestleMania. He goes 20 minutes with John Cena, just honestly dominating him. Hits him with an F5 seconds into the match. He hits him with 16 German suplexes. He hits him with another F5 to make 2 of them. And pins John Cena right there in the middle of the ring. There wasn't any Hulk Hogan type of finish where basically Cena had his foot up on the ropes or Cena kicked out at the 3.1 mark. It just was, Cena got beat. And it wasn't even that he got beat, he got whooped. And basically, they go to the next night at Monday Night Raw, and Cena's selling his injuries. He's not there, and everybody's wondering what's going to happen, or what is going to happen when Monday Night Raw comes around next week. Is Cena going to quit wrestling? Is Cena going to walk away and lick his wounds and just say that he's too beat up and he can't beat Brock right now, and he needs to go out to the woodshed and think up his next plan about what he's going to do. But, Triple H shows up on Main Event, which is the Tuesday show if you don't watch it on the WWE Network, and just says that John Cena is asked to, to use his rematch clause, and they're going to just say the rematch is going to happen at Night of Champions. Brock Lesnar versus John Cena for the second time, or I guess you could say the 4th time if you count the Extreme Rules match, or if you count the Payback? No, not Payback. What the hell did they used to call those? Backlash. I believe it was Backlash. After WrestleMania 19, I think Cena's the guy who got the first title shot up against it. Definitely check that out on the network if you haven't seen it. It's definitely weird. Brock Lesnar is the babyface. John Cena is the heel. But it's definitely a match played out the same way, where Cena won't quit his fight. He's still the same character that he is now than he is then, other than he doesn't rap his promos anymore. And you almost feel sorry for him during the match because he gets his ass kicked so bad. But Cena, to me, honestly, the announcers, I don't know if it's been said that the announcers are being told what to say because of the authority, or, if it's just what they honestly believe. But, they've brought, wrestlers, not even just wrestlers, they've brought, legends. Hulk Hogan said that he thought Cena could do it, but right there in the center of the ring, right to his face, Ric Flair and Shawn Michaels told John Cena, you don't have what it takes to beat this man. Just, that's it. You're a great superstar. You're a legend. You're a future Hall of Famer. You're a 14, 15-time champion, whatever it is. But you're not going to beat this guy. And I don't know who WWE thinks is going to beat Brock if it's not going to be him. Some people have said that, his next set of matches are going to be against the Big Show. Don't make me laugh. There's nobody in the world that wants to see Brock Lesnar versus the Big Show. They already wasted Big Show's return, putting him in a tag match with Mark Henry, teaming him up like, Big Show's big goal in life was to become tag team champion once again, thinking that was going to be a big deal to add to his whole thing. There's not anybody out there except for some little kid cheering in his seat, just happy to be in a Monday Night Raw, that is excited about any Brock Lesnar match against the Big Show. I mean, there's only a few guys in WWE's roster that can have a believable match against Brock, unless they really pull out some wild card. I know that, there was that joke of a Hulk Hogan versus Brock Lesnar match with that TMZ got started. We've already seen the Cena match. I don't think there's a way you can bring back Triple H. I thought I had a pretty good storyline of Brock Lesnar just walking off after winning the titles, and basically Triple H has to go get the championship back, and that sort of makes him a contender to go up against him. But there's, Roman Reigns, who's not there yet, and there's Rock, and he's out making movies right now. There's nobody else under the WWE roster that has a chance to do it. John Cena, in my mind, either two things are going to happen. What I want to happen, and I'm not sure if it's going to happen or not, is that basically John Cena is going to beat Brock Lesnar. 1, 2, 3. He's going to overcome the odds. He's going to, prove all those announcers, all those doubters, Ric Flair, Shawn Michaels, Paul Heyman, Brock Lesnar himself, anybody else along the way, that, he can beat anybody. He's been the best for so long. And if they're going to, just straight up bury John Cena, I know that they can pick up the pieces and they can have him beat anybody else down the road. But, back to the point, who else is there? There's nobody. I mean, they've already killed off a Cesaro match by making him look weak after he left Paul Heyman, instead of having him be real strong and try and go up against Paul Heyman himself and have that be the storyline. You can't do Roman, he's not ready. Big Show, nobody cares about. Mark Henry, nobody cares about. They would have been good feeder matches to get him ready for a championship run, because he broke their arms back in January when he was asking for a championship match and nobody in WWE would listen to him. But I don't know, man. I think Cena's going to beat him. And I've heard other people in the wrestling game think that Cena's going to beat him as well, just because I don't see them, pushing Cena down. If Cena was going to lose, they would be saying, basically he's the last chance of the company. If he can't do it, nobody can. And then all of a sudden when he loses, then you really get this feeling in your stomach of John Cena didn't do it. We don't have a hero. Who is going to step up for us? Because as of right now, we're being ruled by the bad guys. They're taking over. We're being invaded, and it's not good. They took our belt, and we don't have anybody who's got a chance to beat this guy. There's a pit in my stomach that thinks that basically, I know that they've gone in and they said that, Brock Lesnar has retooled his contract, and they can use him almost like per diem, a set amount. You can use him on Monday Night Raw, you can use him on Main Event, you can use him on SmackDown, you can use him on pay-per-views. It doesn't matter. You just pay him to show up and he'll be there. It's not the old deal that they had where it was just basically, we'll tell you how many days a year you get, and you can plan those out however many you want to, but you don't get any more, and if you use less, you're just screwed. You just wasted money. That was the way the old deal was. But I don't believe that Brock is going to fight 3 months in a row. And I know a lot of people have this goal of Brock Lesnar getting all the way to WrestleMania, being the champion. And I know you don't need to have the title on every show. They made it the Night of Champions. It wasn't the best run, and I think it was a lot because they didn't know what to do without having a champion there. And it's so easy when you do have a champion to put him out there in a match against anybody. Doesn't matter if it's John Cena against Biggie Langston, John Cena against Dolph Ziggler, John Cena against The Miz. At least you have a championship match. At least you get to see your champion, and everybody goes home happy. But I think that they painted themselves in a corner because they're building towards the main event, and they only have one of the guys there, and the other guy's not coming for weeks. I think that drew them a blank in WWE. A side story to this is that at the pit of my stomach, I don't think Brock's going to work Hell in a Cell. So I could see a guy like Bray Wyatt. Bray Wyatt is the guy that John Cena a few weeks ago destroyed him and his brothers on Monday Night Raw. It was a 6-man match, but it might as well have been 3-on-1. And Cena beat him up, left him laying there in the ring. And then we come to this week of Monday Night Raw, and the Wyatt family takes out the Big Show. And I don't think they're leading towards, Bray Wyatt versus the Big Show as a pre-show match for Night of Champions. I think that was mostly to make the Wyatts look strong, to where Bray Wyatt can run out during this match, whether if Cena hasn't won or if Cena doesn't have it won at all, and attack John Cena, setting up the Hell in a Cell match, finishing off their WrestleMania feud. Bray Wyatt versus John Cena. This is something that I don't want to see, but it is definitely something that I could see happening. I would not be surprised if that is what is going to happen. That's definitely going to leave everybody with a big, sad face. But, that's what happens. I mean, if it was just, WWF in your house as the next pay-per-view, they could do whatever they wanted to. But they've already sold tickets. They've already told everybody. The advertising's already out. WWE Hell in the Cell is going to happen. And what other feuds are out there that you can put in there? I don't think that Jericho is going to be there next month, so that crosses out Jericho versus Orton. Maybe Roman Reigns versus Seth Rollins can go in there. Maybe if you bring all three of them and do it at a three-way. But that seems a little weird to me, having the Shield go at it in there. Ziggler versus Miz is a series of matches that have gone on, but you really gonna have a Hell in the Cell over an IC strap match? I don't think so. So they're gonna have a lot of stuff to figure out. My prediction is Cena winning it. Let me know what your predictions is, and thank you everybody for checking it out. We had a ton of fun doing the Night of Champions full show preview. Hope you guys liked it on STS Radio, and we'll see you next week, and we'll see you in some more videos. Peace out.